Hi, and welcome to the Lemonade Car Show on Rogers TV. I'm your host, Michael Turk. Tonight, as always, we'll be answering all of your car-related questions. The Lemonade Car Show is brought to you by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator, and we're produced by the APA, the Automobile Protection Association. The APA is membership-based and non-profit to benefit you, the consumer. You can reach us at apa.ca or by telephone at 416-204-1444. Joining me today is Matt Purzycki from Performance Auto Group and Chris Muir of Centennial College. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
We'll also be taking your telephone calls at 1-800-968-7836. We look forward to hearing from you tonight. So Matt, buying a car the APA way, where do you start if you're looking to buy a new car?
It's a smart way to go. Basically, you go on the website apa.ca. The APA does provide a lot of information. They have staff on hand that will help you and guide you through the process. They will recommend you to a dealer that's been vetted, proper dealership. You will be dealing with somebody that knows what they're talking about.
Okay, but before you get there, shouldn't you make up your mind on what car you want?
Well, yes and no. I mean, you definitely have to do some research yourself, to test drive. But the APA will guide you through a lot of the process. There's a lot of information right on the website, and but you definitely want to do some research, test drive, figure out exactly what your needs are. That pretty much sums up.
Hey, Chris,
that's a very good point, actually. I just went through the process this week, truthfully. And what I was looking at originally was something used, and I had a whole bunch of criteria that I needed to meet. Some of it was personal, some of it was a little bit more practical, of course. There was colors that were personal, right, inside out. But what I needed the car to be was four-door, fuel efficient. I couldn't have a trunk, I needed a hatchback, right? And that's what I started my criteria with. Not a particular make or model in mind, but just the criteria that I needed for my day-to-day life.
And where does reliability fit into your
reliability? Equation? It's got to be a reliable car. I'm going usually 200 kilometers a day at this point, right, between the college and where I work up in Peterborough as well. So I do a lot of traveling. I have to have the car be reliable, be fuel efficient, right? And these are all, like I say, they were all points that I brought to the forefront as I'm looking for a replacement for my big old Caprice. As much fun as that is to drive, I can afford a car payment and the fuel to put in something smaller and more efficient based on what I spend in fuel in a week, right? So
when you've identified a category of vehicle that you're interested in, so where do you start to look?
What I did was I started looking a lot on the reliability reviews. I know that certain manufacturers have certain issues or conundrums that they get into later in life, but each individual model and model year that I was looking for, I started looking at online reviews, problems that keep cropping up again and again and again. If something's getting 3 out of 5 stars, you might want to look at why it's getting 3 out of 5 stars, because you're going to find that there's going to be a common problem that really upset people. For something, sometimes it can be something just as silly as fit and finish, but the powertrain runs flawlessly. Other times it can be something fairly major where people become disenchanted with the car rather quickly, right? As well as long-term reliability. When you buy a new car, you want to make sure, especially as if you can't flip that car every 3 years, that thing's going to last and it not be a major expense down the road.
What do you think, Matt? I mean, one of my personal pet peeves tends to be these days what I consider just to be information overload. And consumers, when they're looking for a new car specifically, you can go to the crash test websites, you can go to the auto review websites, then you can go to the manufacturer's websites, and then you can go to the forums to see what what the online community is saying about this particular vehicle. And I think at the end of the day, you just become overwhelmed with all of this information, and you lose track of the fact that what you're really looking for is a car that you want to enjoy driving, that's reliable.
Well, APA does help you filter that out, but you definitely got to read a lot of reviews, like reviews that are online by actually people that have the car. that own it, they've owned the car. So
And
that's definitely a good first step.
In this case, I would say ignorance definitely isn't bliss after you've bought the car, right? We had a gentleman phone last week looking at a minivan hybrid kind of vehicle, right? It's half crossover, half minivan, and he was reading reviews and everything else, and he was still kind of egging on, seeing that he wanted to go for it. Well, being ignorant to the problems that you might have down the road and ignoring the information that's readily available to you is not gonna make you any happier with your final purchase, I would say. If you like something, make sure that it's still a good purchase. If you fall in love with the body style, don't just go based on the body style. And absolutely, driving enjoyment is a huge part of the buying experience, right? It's been my kind of a saying that a minivan to me is the first sign of giving up on life. But I mean, if you need that kind of utility, obviously it's not, right? You just go through them and you pick your favorite one, the one that makes you feel the best when you drive it. But make sure that you're going to feel that way, 5 years down the road when you're finished paying it off.
Well, and there's still an element of car purchasers who are really going to, even if they've decided they're going to buy a vehicle that the APA, for example, is not recommending, they might try to justify their purchase by, they'll find the websites that are actually maybe backed by the manufacturer that support their decision. So they're not really looking for
themselves.
Yeah, so they're not really looking for an independent comment. They're just looking for somebody who can confirm what they want to purchase.
Yeah.
When an APA member calls you for a purchase, Matt, do you direct them, or more often than not, or have they already made up their mind?
What I do is I have the ability to show them multiple cars. So if they narrow it down for me to 3 or 4 cars, I give them a comparison. So basically, test drive all 3 different makes, and they can decide themselves. And I don't like to pressure them too much into a certain brand, unless I know something that's I don't really recommend. But I don't usually pressure them. It's in the end, it's their decision.
What do you find volume-wise? What cars are moving them at this time of the year?
I do. Honda's moving really well. Subaru's doing really well. Availability is a little bit tight with Subaru, but they're doing really well. Toyota, as always, good name for me. Toyota has an excellent name for themselves. So, SUVs, sales are pretty decent right now. I find it. It's not bad. The market's doing okay.
Is there a pre-auto show lull?
It is a little bit slower out January, February, definitely. After the car show, definitely picks up big time. So
it's easier to buy a new car, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If we talk about consumers that are looking to buy a used car, what percentage of the marketplace, do you know, Matt, would that represent?
For me, probably about 30%, 20%. But overall, I wouldn't be able to tell you myself, but from my experience, for my clients, probably about 30%, 30%.
Okay, we can talk about pitfalls of buying a used car. And so, Chris, what's the number one pitfall?
The number one pitfall is falling in love with the car and putting down your money before you've had someone look at it for you. That would be, your classic curbsiding technique or private sale, right? Someone has a headache with the car, they just want to get rid of it. They don't disclose maybe the whole truth. Somebody buys this car and doesn't realize that the front end's been torn off of it at one point, or there might be holes in the bottom of it. They take it and get it safetied, and they find that they're into a whole bunch of money and a whole bunch of heartache. They don't research the used car that they're buying before they purchase it, insofar as problems with that vehicle or the lineup of that vehicle. Those would be the biggest pitfalls that I've seen of the used car buying experience.
So just the people who generally they don't know to get an independent inspection, or they're timid.
There's a lot of passion when you're buying a car, particularly on the used market. A lot of the time it's a reaction out of necessity, right? I need a car now, I don't have much money, I've got to buy something cheap and quick, and so a lot of the time you see people get trapped by that very, very easily. But the majority of the time, you go to a reputable dealer and you're probably going to get a very reputable used car. They're going to throw the paperwork on the desk in front of you and say, hey, look, this thing's never been an accident, here's your car proof. What I see mostly is people getting trapped by dishonest sales technique. Would be about the worst thing that I see, generally speaking.
Would you echo that, Matt?
I totally agree. you definitely want a dealer that's very open about things. You know, they're not hiding car proofs. They should be able to show you that right away.
Okay, thanks, Matt, for now. The Lemonade Car Show, brought to you by OMVIC, Ontario's motor vehicle sales regulator, returns after this short break. When we come back, we'll be taking your calls at 1-800-968-7836. Stay tuned.